Hi there. So in this edition, we're going to learn market equilibrium and how do we find for market equilibrium when we are given our demand and supply models. So let's get started. So first off, we'll discuss what is market equilibrium. Well, market equilibrium is the condition where firms are able to supply the exact quantity of goods or service demanded by consumers in the market at a given price level. Conversely, this is the condition when the consumers are able to buy all the goods or services available in the market. This is why sometimes we call it market clearing, because all the amount of goods or services available in the market are transferred from the hands of our suppliers to the hands of our consumers, and nothing is left in the market after the transaction. Now, how is the real phenomenon of market equilibrium represented? Well, there are three of them. Okay, so in demand schedules, we spot market equilibrium when the entries for price and quantity are exactly the same in the demand schedule and the supply schedule. In demand and supply curves or graphs, market equilibrium is the intersection between the demand curve and the supply curve. And in equation models, the equilibrium is solved by algebraic manipulation. In this edition, we're going to study the first and the third. All right, so let's have this example. Here, in a certain municipality in Nueva Vizcaya, the weekly demand and supply schedules for pork shoulders is given below. Um, Find the market equilibrium condition in this market. In other words, when does market clearing occur? Like we said before, we have to spot the price level and the quantity level that are exactly the same between the two schedules. The price level, or we can begin, okay, at 50 kilos of pork shoulder, the total quantity demanded is 825 kilos. But at the same price level, the total supply is only 225 kilos. So there will be a shortfall of supply of pork kilos. There's just too many people who want pork shoulders, but then too few suppliers to give. At the supply level of, rather at the price level of 250, we have quantity demanded of 225 kilos of pork, but quantity supplied of 825. So here we have an oversupply of pork shoulders. There's just too many suppliers too willing to sell their pork shoulders, but too few buyers willing to buy them. It's easy to spot that the entry for 150 is the same. What does this mean? This means that at the price level of 150 pesos per kilo, 525 kilos of pork shoulders are demanded. At the same price level of 150 pesos per kilo, 525 kilos of pork shoulders are supplied by your producers. So, this is our equilibrium condition. Ah, market equilibrium occurs when there is when the price of pork shoulder is 150. Why? Because 525 kilos supplied will all be bought by the consumers. Okay, so P equilibrium is 150 and quantity equilibrium is 525. And there you have it. Okay, so this is your equilibrium condition. So when you're asked for the equilibrium condition, you're asked for both the price equilibrium, the price at equilibrium, and the quantity demanded and supplied at equilibrium. So there you have it. Okay, just very easy when you have a table, you just have to spot. But not all the time we're given the demand and supply schedules. Most of the time you will be given the equation models. So, for example, here in Aklan, the weekly demand and supply equation models for mobile data in terabytes are given below. Determine the market clearing condition in this market. All right. So, in this case, you don't have a table, so you really have to do this by algebra. Remember, equilibrium happens, the quantity supplied is equal to the quantity demanded. Remember that condition. Equilibrium is when quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded. So that means that 500 plus 50p is equal to 1050 minus 5p. Ah, so this is easy. This becomes 55p is equal to 550. So very easy now. We just divide this by 55 and we have p therefore, which is 10 pesos. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, so we put the subscript p equilibrium, okay, at 10 pesos. This means that at this price level, equilibrium will occur. Okay, now, of course, we said before that market clearing conditions should be given as an ordered pair, okay, or rather as a pair where you have the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantities. So we have to solve for the equilibrium quantity by substituting this P to any of the two. Okay, so I think it's easier if we substitute this to QD. So we have Q equilibrium is just 1050p 1050 minus 5 times P equilibrium. Or this is 1050 minus 5 times 10, or this is 1000. All right, so that means that finally we have our market clearing condition is Px at 10, and the quantity at equilibrium is at 1000 terabytes. All right, so there you have it. Okay, if that's a little bit confusing, let's go to the second example because it might be easier for you. Oh, by the way, you may use calculators if you want. So again, we remember that okay, this is in NCR, the daily demand and supply equation models for short distance motorcycle deliveries, or SDMDs, are given below. Compute for the equilibrium condition in this market. All right, so we just remember that at equilibrium, quantity supplied is equal to quantity demanded at equilibrium. So what does that mean? That means that 25,000 plus 100p, rather 100p, is equal to 80,000 minus 500. That means that we will have 55,000 is equal to 600p. And if we do the division, okay, so allow me to use a calculator right now because the numbers are too big. You have 55,000 divided by 600, okay? So we get an equilibrium price of 91.67 pesos, Philippine pesos. And of course, we have to find the quantities at equilibrium to finish off this solution. We use this to find, so we can use, let's use quantity supply. This time we have 25,000. We have quantities at equilibrium is 25,000 plus 100 times 91.67. Again, let's use our calculators because this is, I think, too large. So times 100 plus 25,000. Okay, so we'll get 34,167. Okay, we rounded this off because this is a rounded off answer, by the way. So that means that finally, okay, at equilibrium, okay, price is 91.67 pesos, and the quantities is 34,167 deliveries. There you have it. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand market equilibrium and how to get market equilibrium conditions given your demand and supply models. That's all for now. See you next time.